Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
So we about to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against it and with a little bit of soul, no times.
Welcome to Please Remain Calm. I'm Ben Gonzalez.
And I am Daniel Gonzalez. As always, folks, the opinions expressed here on the Please Remain Calm podcast are our own. They do not reflect the opinions of the Los Angeles City Fire Department or the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services.
Thank you. We have been back with this, new chunk of episodes over the summer, and people who have been writing with us from the beginning know that the original format of the show was we talked to people who got fucked up.
Correct.
Something bad happened to them and they tell us a story, and we basically would tell what the fire department, paramedics, doctors, the ER, what everyone else did, the other side of it that you don't know. When you're in an accident, you don't know the other perspective.
Yes.
You paint a whole picture of what an emergency scene was like, and that was the show.
Yeah.
And we hit those consistently.
Yeah. After 116?
Yeah.
116. You only know so many people that have had something happen to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and then a couple episodes we were like scraping. It was like, oh, I banged my toe or something like that. And it was like, oh, wait, what are we doing here? Let's take a break. And
yeah. Like we had one where somebody, we thought they cut their finger off almost, but they more like just jammed it in the door.
Yeah. It was like, damn.
We were reaching.
I mean, it sucks, but
and
it's in a podcast episode.
I know another dude that's got a podcast where they talk to people who are stalking victims every episode, right?
Like they're the ones stalking people, or they're victims of stalking?
They're victims of stalking.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Either one would be interesting, and I would listen to it. Either one.
So I talked about that too, like, cause he wondered about that, like how you procure guests and everything, right?
Yeah.
Cause we don't have a producer for this show.
We're
just winging it.
That's an even more rare. I mean, that's bold to pick that as like the premise for your podcast,
right? And
what's it called?
It's called Strictly Stalking. It's
Damn,
Jake and
it's
Jamie,
clever.
And it's a good podcast, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So this dude Jake, he's like, I go on like Reddit groups for stalking, and there's victims on there. You can like reach out to them. And
FBI is definitely watching, him.
Right, dude?
Yeah, they're definitely watching.
Yeah,
him.
but this is like a great dude, and like this is not like a pro stalking podcast. Let me make that clear. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They're not supporting stalking. They're talking to victims and like giving you a picture, and so there's a community and support and all that stuff.
I'm
right?
definitely bringing a friend or something though if I'm ever on this podcast. Just FYI.
Man. Sorry, Jake. Jake is the best. But we kind of got away from that, and we don't always get people who got fucked up.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I'm trying to get to with our guest today is we have somebody again, like we're going back to classic PRC.
I don't know why right now though the F word is like jarring me right now when you say it, the fucked up. It feels like a hard like a hard F
because mom got to you.
Oh yeah, that's probably.
He used to say just F-bombs every episode, like the first like 20 episodes. So like my mom would make a point of it. Like
it's just the way I talk though, typically. And then my mom said something and then I was like, do I really curse that much? And then I listened back to like our early episodes and it is rather jarring. So we can say like people that have gotten jacked up or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll stop the hard F. Sorry, kids. Okay.
People who have survived, catastrophic events.
Yeah.
And then, I have a friend who has survived many catastrophic events altogether. And okay, so this is a friend who's like a really good friend of a good friend of mine, of a really good friend of mine. And that good friend
thrice removed.
Yeah, I know, right? That good friend.
So you're kind of a good friend.
Yeah.
Welcome to comedy.
Here we go. I know this is how you know everybody, right? And that friend is a horse jumper, equestrian jumper. So she told me, my friend Sabrina broke her neck. Like she'd be a good guest on your show. And my first thought was, this is somebody who fell off a horse.
Yeah. Christopher Reeve style.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And then it just.
And there's logistics.
This was back in our salad days of having guests. We had a lot of people that we knew at that point that got jacked up. And I thought we'll get to, other people.
What happened to her? She broke her neck. Okay. Bottom of the list. So wait, exactly how jacked up is she?
Right. So we start talking and she tells me the story and it's like, damn, this is fucked up. Like you'll be a great guest for our show. Right. And she's down to do it. And then in the course of talking, there's like multiple fucked up things that have gone on. And it's like a portrait of like just different catastrophe to catastrophe in your life.
That's
So-
one hell of an introduction.
Right. So our
Let's
guest
meet her.
is a writer, comedy producer, podcast producer, and survivor of many tragic events.
All around badass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sabrina Cognata.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah.
Like we said, it's like, I mean, from the podcast side of it, it's really hard to find people that are, number one, have had something like interesting or significant happen to them, but then that are actually like willing to talk about it. You know?
I mean, there's the accident, and then really the interesting stuff is like when you realize your life is fucked up. And then you're like, oh, I'm so fucked up from all these fucked up things. Also, I'm sorry to your mom. Because I'm just going to do it.
It's going to be okay, Mom.
It's perfectly
My
fine.
mom would sit here
I
and
feel
be
a lot
like-
better about it now, actually.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to say what I want. But yeah, it's like there's accidents, and then it's like the fallout of everything that happens after, because you don't know how to deal with it. We don't
Yeah.
live in a society that gives people tools or anything.
Yeah.
So it becomes extremely hard.
Tools
To
or time.
Well, it's so much different stuff. You know what I mean? Because when I first broke my neck, the impetus was to be like, I have failed death, so now I must chase death. So my life got extremely exciting, but it was like before that, I was like kind of boring, and I had a traumatic brain injury. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they're like, your whole personality is going to change, and I was like, these fucks don't know shit.
Yeah.
And then my sister's like, no, you were a boring nerd, and now you're like set on fire everywhere that you go.
Yeah.
So it's like so much more than that, I think, because it's like I had to relearn to live my life because I became a different person.
Yeah. What a trip.
Well, and I produced the news, so I would be like, to people who in fucked up stuff, I'd be like, I have 5 minutes to explain to you that you need to get help, and you need to get help quick. There's nothing you can do. You can't change this. Like, you're a different person now.
And this is you speaking to like victims of events.
Of like a fucking active shooting,
right,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? I'm like, listen, I found you. This is what I do, okay? Like,
Yeah.
but you're fucked, and nothing's gonna get unfucked. So please get help. Anyways, here's what I need you to do. But that's like why I can do these kinds of things. It's why I'm a decent producer too, because I'm just like, okay, here are the tools I have, and I can like mitigate whatever the situation is between us really quickly.
Right.
And then create intimacy very fast, and then be like, please do what I say. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have helped you. I also relate in a 1,000 different ways. What happened? Tell me. But yeah. Okay.
But it's like a cut to the shit, like a way of doing things, right?
Well, I mean, what's the gray area? You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
like, hello, how are you?
You know what's funny though is like, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, is like being a paramedic for almost 23 years now. Like I've seen pretty much you name it, trauma wise, I've seen it and like watched people deal with it. And like some of the most like well-rounded, like most understanding, like calmest in the craziest situation people are people who have been through the craziest fucking trauma.
The things that drive me nuts are like everyday things. Like I misplaced a check, and the whole morning was me just like ripping through things, like tiny things like that. I'm a nut. But like if somebody came in here with a gun, I'd be like, perfect.
Yeah.
Like this, I've been waiting for this. You know what I mean? Like normal people shit is like, so
it's
overwhelming.
mundane and just like,
well, it's overwhelming because it's like there's no action to take. I don't feel calm. I feel stressed. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like, oh, somebody else come in and deal with this stupid tiny little thing. I'm gonna cry. You know what I mean? Like this is not for me.
But then the shit hits the fan. Peace.
Oh my God.
Here we are.
I'm like,
We're
thank
back.
God I was here for this. But yeah.
So going to what you were saying about that, you're not given tools, or we're not given tools to deal with things like this when it happens. When it happens when you're a kid, the tools are only your family. It's only like, is this a suck it up, eat it, hey, shut up, you know? Or like,
and then you're at the mercy of how like your parents deal with stuff. You know, and deal with trauma. It's like your parents could be all jacked up when it comes to shit like that too.
Fine, I'll admit it. I come from a fucked up family. Like my mom's one of those people that's like, well, when I was a kid, my dad was playing with or using a hammer, and part of it snapped off and ended up in my temple, and I can't even get an MRI, so I'm fine and you'll be fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, still to this day, you know what I mean? I'm like, we're quantifying this shit still.
I was gonna say, like, what do you say to that? Like that just, dude, that ends the conversation.
Well,
like,
it doesn't anymore because I'm like, listen, bitch, I fucking arrived. I got my own shit. But it's why she's like, get up, walk it off for everything, you know? And it's like, no, thank you. I don't actually want to. But yeah, like I was always a person getting hurt. And part of me thinks it's because it was that walk it off shit, or I'm like, oh, she's scared. She's going to be nice for a little bit, you know, and usually she wasn't. Should I make the hard transition or should you? We're going to ask questions. How do you want to do this?
So like the first big thing, like where you face this dynamic, you told me you fell off the roof when you were a kid.
Yeah, well, really what I was doing was trying to, I don't even know, really... There's six kids in my family, and the first 3 of us are really close together, kind of like you guys. Like, I have a sister named Gia, and we're 18 months apart. Then I have a brother named Dominic, and we're my Gia and Dominic are 20 months apart.
Oh, wow.
So we were always doing bad stuff together. You know what I mean?
Sure,
I'd be like, oh, it's sunset. Let's go get on like the cinder block wall and see what the old lady behind us is doing. You know what I mean? Like propping each other up. And somehow we had decided we were getting on the roof. That was like a thing we had started doing with each other.
Yeah.
And I was like, you just got to get closer to the edge. And they were like, how? And I was like this. And then I just lost my footing and fell. And I don't remember any of it. I remember waking up in like the family room and everybody was standing around me. And I was like, oh, I'm alive. And my mom's like, what is going on? And I was just like, I hurt everything. But like one of the nice things about me is I do know how to take a fall, I guess. Like I rolled. I just remember being like, I'm fucked. But there was nothing broken. I probably had a concussion, but you know what I mean? Like it was just like me being like, I'm so fucked right now, guys.
Wait. So how old are you?
I'm 40.
No, in the story. Sorry.
Oh, I'm 150 in dog years. I was probably 10 or 11. I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like Bumbles bounce. Like kids are designed to really take a fall. You know. And
how were you getting on the roof?
We were propping each other up, and what we would do is we would get up on the cinder block wall, and then we would grab like, God, there's like so many logistics, but we would get from the cinder block wall, prop up, pull ourselves onto the roof and be like, okay, we're adults now. We're cool. Nobody's up here. Fuck these guys. Have a full bird's eye view of everything going on. Fuck everybody.
Where did you grow up?
In the valley.
All right.
Sand Val baseball kids. What's up? That's what they did. Bad News Bears. But yeah, I grew up like right next to North Hollywood High. And it's just like all those little track homes. So it wasn't terribly hard to get up there.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Dominic was little, so we would just grab him and drag him up. And like,
that's what I'm saying, because it was all of you got up.
Yeah. But it's like, look, you it takes a team to get anything done. You know what I mean? Like I'm really long with really long arms, so I would be like, okay, if anything happens, just like keep pushing me.
That like just wouldn't occur to me as a kid. That like, let's go hit the roof, dude. You know
I mean, I think it would have, dude. We grew up in the 80s, dude. We were doing all kinds of crazy shit. We're all over the place. Yeah, I miss those days, actually. Like going out, great. You never knew what the fuck was going to happen.
Just free time, you know what I mean? Like it started with us getting on the cinder block wall. The old lady behind us was kind of deaf, so she would always listen to Jeopardy super loud. And I was like, she'll never know we're like in her backyard. Let's go into her backyard.
Yeah, one of our friends on the block that we grew up on. First of all, like if you hopped our back fence, it was Santa Monica Airport, right? But then on our block across the street, one of our friends had like remember Kurt had that bamboo like forest back there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we used to go back there and climb on the wall, and then you could run down like the entire neighborhood on the back walls.
That's it.
Of everyone.
That's right, dude. Damn, I forgot about that.
That's basically how it all started. Is we would just be like, we did gymnastics as kids, so it's like the balance beam. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I'd be like, we'll fucking do this.
Yeah, and you're like running through everyone's backyard. It was like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, man. Like running through the whole fucking neighborhood. And kids, that's what growing up felt like. Like what you're listening to right now is it's like what growing up felt like in the 80s, late
childhood
80s,
trespassing.
90s. Yeah,
I mean,
no phones. No one gave a shit where you were. No one knew we were in a bamboo forest running through everyone's backyard.
Oh man, you're doing like memes now.
And sometimes you fell off the fucking roof.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always getting hurt in that way, so it's like it didn't really change anything. It was like this moment in time where I like all of the math clicked for who my mom was. Like nothing really mattered until you were really hurt, and I was like, oh,
yeah, that's how parents were. Yeah.
But it knocked you out. Like you said, you woke up in the living room.
Yeah. Well, it's not the first time I've been knocked out at this point.
And that's a testament to how people used to deal with shit. It was like, oh, what happened? Oh, she fell out of the tree. Oh, fuck, get her inside. You know what I mean? Now it's like, my foot's been hurting for a month. Let's call 911 because it's finally time to go. Or whatever.
And this whole effort to get everybody up to the roof, like your little sister and brother just hopped down.
Yeah. They were just like,
that's one way to get down.
Yeah, we don't need long Sabrina now. Yeah.
they're like, we're not doing this anymore. But I'll never forget. It's like the last vivid memory is them being like, how? And I was like closer, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, fuck.
Too close.
Do they remember it though? Like it being hilarious though? You falling off?
Is it a story that's told at like Thanksgiving?
For sure. But I mean, like, there's so many stories like that where like that one pales in comparison sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
you pushing me down the stairs.
I definitely have pushed Gia down the stairs, but drunk. So it's like, you know.
I did yell roll down there.
You shoved her down the stairs.
I was just like, I had done like 15 shots of Jägermeister. And then we were at, this is like 100 years ago, but like back when Spider Club was a thing. Mm-hmm. And so I was in Avalon or whatever the fuck it is. And these guys were like, you want to do shots? And I was like, yeah, bitch, let's go hard. And then they lined up all these shots and I just did them all. They were for all of us, but I did them all. And then I was like, we have to go. I'm going to be so fucking drunk in like 30 seconds. And she was like, I don't understand what's happening. And then I was wearing a skirt and heels. And I just remember putting my hand on her shoulder and being like, it's happening. It's too fucking late. And somehow I got my shoe, the heel of my shoe caught in the skirt, ripped the skirt off myself, pushed her down the stairs. I fell down the stairs. When we got to the bottom, she was like, I fucking hate you. You're the worst. I was like, if you don't get me out of here in like 30 seconds, it's going to be a fucking mess. So you know what I mean? That's like, and that's after I broke my neck. So,
wow. Okay.
You know,
so let's
hold on. No, sorry.
Bearing the lead here.
15 shots. They just laid them out. You just knocked them all down in a row.
I can't remember like why, but I know it was like a lot. There was like a bunch of guys there too. And I was like, fuck these guys. They don't know who they're dealing with.
That's what I'm saying.
Trauma, baby.
There, like,
I'll have to black out in order to get done with this day.
Dude.
All right. So let's get to this breaking of neck episode.
Okay.
But we got to stay chronological here. That's the thing. We're jumping around. It's like fucking Pulp Fiction. Because there was a thing before that. Also, when you were a kid, held hostage.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
we gotta, we can't skip that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm
we
saying.
definitely can't skip the hostage story.
Hold us all hostage with this break and neck story. When I was a kid, my mom was mean. She was a mean mom, you know? And she was hot. So it was like that duo where people are like, oh, your mom's so beautiful. I'm like, she is dead inside. But she had like all these like specific rules to like control us. And one was that we couldn't get out of bed once we were in bed. Like, piss the bed. I don't give a fuck. You're stuck in bed. Like, it has to be like such a super duper emergency or you're stuck in bed.
Yeah.
And one night, like my sister and I shared a room and we were like laying in bed and the neighbor, him and his wife started screaming and I was like, open the window, hurry. So she opens the window and it's like so fucking clear. He's just like, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. I don't want to deal with this shit. And I was like, that seems like a reason to go into mom's room. Yeah. Like, he's going to kill himself? Yeah, let's do it. So, like, we get up and we're like, knock, knock, knock. And my brother, who's like the fucking crown prince of our house, is like on the sofa watching TV. And she's like, what? And I was like, oh my God, you have to understand. I think Tom's going to kill himself. Like, he is screaming, he's going to fucking kill himself. Now, you have to understand, Tom was in construction and the whole garage that they had, like, their garage was ass up to like our bedroom. And then behind that was like my parents' bathroom, like the master bathroom, and then my parents' bedroom. Okay. So it's like you exit the bedroom and then you go down a long hallway and then you're in my parents' bedroom. Mm-hmm. And we're like all in there talking with my mom, trying to explain to her, like, you have to understand, I think this is pretty bad. Yeah. So like, you know, this guy had like a bunch of guns in his garage. It was like an 80s man cave. You know what I mean? Yeah, babes on the wall and guns on the wall. Yeah. And when he said it, it was like, okay, maybe he could actually kill himself. He does have guns in there. So like my mom called his garage because we didn't have cell phones. And he answered, and like the side of the conversation I heard was her being like, hey, is everything okay over there? And my mom's like 6 or 7 months pregnant at this point. Yeah. And so she's like, you know, we're just checking. The kids said they heard you. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry I woke you guys up. Like, I don't know. I can't exactly say what he said, but it's like one of those, like, don't worry about it. Like, we were just having a little argument over here. I'm like 15 beers deep, and in 2 seconds, I'm going to start shooting. And then he hangs up the phone, and my mom's like, he says nothing's going on. Go to bed. So Gia and I start walking out of the room, and then he just starts shooting from his garage, through the garage, and in through my parents' bedroom.
Shut the fuck up.
And we're all just like laying on the floor. I remember just being like, okay. Like my super pregnant ass mom, my dad's not home, he's a workaholic. Like being like, and my mom being like, well, we need to get to the cordless phone.
He just told me he wasn't going to shoot.
Dude, it went so quick. I just remember not even leaving my mom's room being like, oh, this is going to happen.
Jesus.
And then like, you know, you do have to call 911 because it's like, hey, we don't know if he's what he's doing or what other weapons he has in there. And we're kind of fucking stuck. God help us. And it was like probably started at like 9 p.m. And I just remember like looking at the time on a clock on the wall and being like, I'm definitely not going to school tomorrow. Yes. You know, and by now my mom's called my dad, who's in front of, like, they won't even let him in. Yeah. Because it's like the whole
active crime scene. Yeah,
right. You know what I mean? So we're just stuck. We're stuck there like
barricaded suspect. Yeah.
Get as far away from him as you can, but we don't want to get close to you because we don't want to get fucked.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, they have a piss poor hostage negotiator, but it's like, we want to get these people out of the house. And I just remember the cop coming in and grabbing like my sister, and my mom's pregnant and holding my brother. And I'm just like, dude, this fucker. Right. You know what I mean? Just like, and me being like, I'm my own person. Nobody's going to carry me. And I was probably like 11 or 12 at that time. And then 6 months later, the guy across the street, we're all playing in the front yard. Tom, the next door neighbor who shot us all up, he's been to rehab. His life is going better. I just remember playing in the front yard, and there was just like a flash of light across the street, and then a pop, 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 or pop, pop, pop. And being like, oh, I definitely know those are gunshots. Like, I'm a fucking expert now.
Yeah.
And Tom came out and he was like, yeah, those were gunshots. My dad comes out and we tell my mom, and my mom is a psycho. So she takes a kitchen timer and she's like, I want you to sit here and look at their window from across the street for 30 minutes. And if you don't see any shadows moving, we'll walk across. And so like, dude, we're just sitting there like, the timer has dinged and nothing is moving. And I remember my mom was going to like cross the street with one of my sisters. And my dad was like, no, I'll go do it. Now, my dad was district attorney and he's seen a million fucking dead bodies. And I'll never forget it because he walks across the street and he looks into the window and he just shook his fucking head. And that's what we were already calling 911. We're like, oh, they're fucking dead.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh, this is a Saturday. And they had 2 kids. And I remember everybody was like, did he steal the kids and kill the kids before? Like, what's going on? And they had always had problems. And it didn't quite make sense to me because I was like 11 or 12, but my mom she had told my mom he would beat the shit out of her. So my mom would sometimes send us across the street in the evenings, I think, to buy her time to not get the shit beaten out of her. And so like,
did you know that's what you're doing?
No, of course not.
Whoa.
Like when my life started falling apart when I turned about 30, I brought all this stuff up to my mom and she was like, I don't know why I did any of that stuff. I just thought I could control it all. And I'm like, why didn't you just get us all fucking help, dude? Like,
what part of the valley was this in? That sounds like Panorama City.
North Hollywood.
Dude, it's North Hollywood. It was when North Hollywood became Valley Village, you know? They're like, we're getting a different zip code. We're not like those other fucks. I'm like, yeah, we're killing everybody. I still call that place Murder Street because so much wild shit would happen there.
Jesus.
And then my friend moved there like last year and I was like, dude, Murder Street's crazy shit. And all this crazy stuff started happening to her. She's like, I have to get away from Murder Street. She had like a stalker, but I'm like a stalker expert because I've had a bunch. So I'm like, we're going to deal with this. Don't worry. But yeah, I'm like, stay away from Murder Street. Nothing good happens there. But also like down the way, my dad grew up on the same street at a different block. You know what I mean?
Well, no shit.
It's welcome to the valley, you know? But yeah, like it was all these little things adding up. And then when I was 19, it was like, I was just so much bad stuff had happened. I was just like a person that was like, yeah, probably something bad will happen. Whatever, you know, like, and I never did anything. I didn't go to prom. I didn't have a boyfriend. Like, I was just like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to argue with my parents. I don't want to have this conversation.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean?
Like that.
Dude. Yeah. Like, I was just like, whatever. So my sister's like disappearing and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I just don't want to have to deal with their shit. And my dad would have just let us go, but my mom's super controlling.
Yeah.
So like, you know, I remember it was like New Year's Eve and somebody that went to like UC Irvine was throwing a party. It was like a friend of a friend. And I was like, oh, I'm going. And we talked. We have like our uncle was like, he's probably what brought joy into our lives as kids. He was also always getting hurt. Like I remember one time we were playing hide and seek and he climbed this fucking jacaranda tree, got like pretty high up and he fell out. And I'll never forget it because we were little kids and we all like stood around him and we didn't ask if we needed help. We were like, you got so fucked, buddy.
You're cracking up.
You know? Yeah, right. You know, but he like would do what we needed kind of. And I was like, I don't want to wait for her. She's not going to let me go to this party. Take me into Hollywood. My friend's going to drive the rest of the way.
Wait,
And-
this is at 19, you knew your mom was going to let you go to a party?
Yes, that's how
Damn.
controlling she was.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, you know, when I look at it now, it's crazy, but also it's like, oh, my parents are really clear that they had all these like super giant breasted, sexy daughters, and they were like, no, we have to protect them. We have to
They
protect
can't go
them.
anywhere.
Right. You know what I mean? You have to go in groups. So like, I was like, I'll just bring Gia. It won't matter. And we'll go together. And we drive up. I don't drink. I don't party. I just like go to this fucking party is like Y2K shit, you know, like, oh, it's gonna be 2001 and everything's gonna stop working and everything just works.
Yeah.
And then Gia and
That was one of the
Oh,
funniest
it was a
things
New
ever.
Year's party?
it was a New Year's
Oh,
party. It was a
shit,
New Year's
yeah.
Eve party. Like
For Y2K, that's crazy.
it is.
So
And it's
funny.
like some of the most vivid, like, oh, well, that was a letdown. And then we woke up, we cleaned up after everybody, and then we left to come back.
It was that and the Mayan calendar. Remember when the Mayan
2012.
calendar?
Yeah, 2012.
The last
That-
good
It was
time
like,
anybody
oh
had.
shit.
That's also funny, like their first party where like you bailed against your mom to go. It's like to go all the way to UC Irvine and you stayed and cleaned up.
Dude, it was terrible. It was terrible because like we get in the car, everything's going fine. Like I truly believe there is a black hole by Getty Center Drive. Just like the most horrific shit always happens there. And we were driving, we were in the fast lane, and I don't know how to describe it. The car just lost control. We were going about 70, so it's not like crazy fast or anything. And
You're going north or you're heading south still?
we're heading north.
North. You're going
We're
back
going home. We're going
back
going
home. Yeah.
going home. And we never made it, you know, like the car went from the fast lane to the embankment. It spun out. We hit a bunch of cars. We flipped over twice. I have no fucking memory of this, but I'll tell you what my sister tells me. Like she said that, first of all, I want you to know that the fucking CD player, kids, there were CD players at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you had to have a CD. Well, the CD player in this fucking car didn't work. It was an SUV, but the CD player didn't work.
Was it
so-
a CD changer or was it just a CD player and dash?
well, we had a boombox, okay?
Okay.
And
Nice.
the boombox was in the back seat with my sister. And we were listening to NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye. And I'm so glad I didn't die to that song. I just have to say that. Like, what a way to go out.
for eternity it's playing in the
Right?
background. Yeah.
But I don't remember any of it. I remember the last thing I remember is this flash of seeing that piece of plastic that connects the windshield to the side mirror.
Yeah.
And that's it for me. And then my sister said that some dude wanted to unbuckle my seatbelt and get me out of the car. The crown of my head had gone through the windshield because the driver didn't hit the brakes, or if she did, they didn't hold. Nobody really knows.
Yeah.
And I when I was sucked back into the car, it was just like the entire top of my head was scalped, like from here to here.
Oh wow.
And there was just blood everywhere. And my
Yeah.
sister was like, I'll fucking kill you if you unbuckle her. And she said she was running around grabbing money to put back in purses, but also screaming at people not to fucking touch me. And then like the rest is like me getting like, she said that when I got into an ambulance, she thought that I had brain damage because she's like, you just started talking to the paramedic and you were like, whoa, you have beautiful eyes. She's like, she's never nice to men. This can't be real. This is not her. And I don't have any memory of any of that. They took me to Mission Hills. And I remember waking up and bargaining with the trauma nurse and being like, this bra is brand new and you don't understand how hard it is to find a bra in this size. It's 1998. Like, please don't do this to me. And she's like, I'll make you a deal. I'll give you your jeans. They're like soaked in blood. I remember like looking at them later and being like, I don't want these. And like them coming in, and it's like, I had really long hair. Like my mom's half Mexican, and it was like long hair is so important. And you know what I mean? And I had like a top pony, and like, don't go through a windshield in a top pony. Like, let me tell you, fucking nightmare. Cause it was like dirt, debris, and bullshit from the embankment.
All matted down with the blood.
Yep. A nightmare. And they just shaved it. I would like look like I was like, hey, I'm gonna be a monk, motherfuckers. And then we all got drunk, and some guy would just like shaved like this part of my hair. You know what I mean? When guys were like very sensitive about being bald, I'm like, I've been bald, get fucked. It's not the worst thing in the world, let me tell you. I was a bald woman. It's true.
But that part was lodged in the windshield.
Well,
like,
I sucked back out, so I was just hanging upside down, pouring blood out of the top of my head.
If you roll the car, I mean, usually if you have your seatbelt, it's gonna. Anytime you're in an accident, and you have your seatbelt on. You know, in that B post, there's like a It's almost like a shotgun shell or a
Yes.
CO2 canister that goes off and it yanks the belt tight. So when you start to, that's why you see like seatbelt marks on
Right.
people when they're in a bad accident, because that thing, as you start to go forward and it activates, it yanks the seatbelt back, so it like secures you back in the thing. But if you're rolling and you run the risk of the windshield coming in, the roof coming in, all that stuff, you're at the mercy of how you're rolling, how heavy the vehicle is. Are you rolling on top of anything in the embankment? There's boulders and shit on the embankment. You know, who the fuck knows? So, you know, that's why like, even you give yourself the best chance of surviving if you're wearing your seatbelt.
Right.
Right. And growing up, it wasn't something that we always did. My dad always even pushed
He
against.
refused it.
Yeah, refused to wear a seatbelt all the time. But that's like one of the first things that we ask when we get people, because sometimes we'll get to an accident like that and there's a rollover and stuff like that, but the people are already out of the car. Like the guy trying to unbuckle you, get you out of the car and you're sitting on the curb. And it's like, did you have your seatbelt on? It's one of the things we have to report to the trauma center. I'm surprised they're taking to Mission Hills, because Mission Hills is in a trauma center, right?
No, it is.
She means Holy Cross.
Oh, Holy
yeah,
Cross,
that's
yeah.
it. Yeah, that's exactly
that's
it.
right.
Yeah, but even that though, Holy Cross is kind of far from there.
Well, they took the driver who only broke her arm to fucking UCLA, and they gave her a catheter.
Yeah, it
and
seems UCLA would be a lot closer.
Well, they did not take me there. It must have just been busy, because I just remember my mom getting there and me. I had dirt everywhere.
Yeah.
And I had counted my teeth. Like I had teeth removed. I have a small mouth, big teeth. And so I had teeth removed as a kid. So I knew how many teeth I had in my mouth. So I counted them while I was just like waiting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she walked in and she looked so scared. And I was like, don't worry, I have all of my teeth. You know what I mean? And she was just like, oh, that's like the least of our worries right now, dude. And, you know, I don't mind small spaces. So they like first a CAT scan, then an MRI. And they were like, pretty much she's fucked, you know? And it's a lot of like coming in and out and just like having some memories of being like in excruciating, intense pain. And then like somebody would come in and like fucking up your morphine or whatever. Yeah. And then you just like be goodbye. You know, I do remember my dad being there one night and like trying to take the rubber band out of my hair and just fucking sobbing. You know what I mean? Because it's like nothing is going right.
So what did your injuries wind up being?
I broke C4, 5, 6, and 7.
Oh,
4 and 5 are pedicle fractures. 6 into 7 is a compression fracture. C1 in 2003 or 2004 had a 7mm slip. So it's just like, you know what I mean?
Entire neck.
And what did they tell you about how lucky you were that you weren't paralyzed? At that point?
They kept being like, nobody could understand. And I was like, just like, get me out of here. You know what I mean? Like they're like,
for those of you that don't know, there's a little saying, C3, 4, 5 keep you alive, because basically every autonomic thing that your body does, from heartbeat regulation to breathing to all that stuff, it kind of lives and exists right in that little area of your neck. If you sever or damage the spinal cord in that area, you are 100% fucked. And you know, could lose movement. That's how you become paraplegic, is breaking exactly where on your neck you did. So you know, it might be a testament to wearing your seatbelt. You know, the other thing is like you were at a party. Had you been drinking?
No, I didn't drink. I didn't do anything. That's boring.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, there's none of that stuff.
Yeah, because you a lot of times we'll get like drunk drivers or something like that, and they're involved in these crazy serious accidents. And it's like everyone else is hurt, but the guy that's like most drunk, you know, and it's just like what contributes to that. It's like, damn, you're so relaxed and you just kind of go with the flow and go with it, you know. But damn, that is crazy. Those are crazy injuries to have and come out of it squeaky clean on the back end. Because
I couldn't bend my head or my neck. They couldn't tell if I fractured the base of my skull, but they're like, we think you did based on this x-ray. So it's just like so many different things. It's like I had no feeling in this arm for like 2 years, like just this part of the arm. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, it's because you fucked up the ulnar nerve, lady. Yeah. You know, like years later, I cut this part of my hand and I was in the ER and they're like, you're going to need all this stuff. And I was like, if the feeling in this comes back, the feeling in that will come back. I'll just keep massaging it, you fucks.
So you have this pretty significant injury, and at what point did you like wake up and realize like what happened? You were in the car still waiting for
I was in the hospital was when I realized I was fucked.
Oh, okay.
Like ultimate fucked was in the hospital. I don't have any memory. It was really mad about that for a long time because like this thing has changed my life. And I'm like making memories up based on what my sister is telling me.
Yeah.
You know? And like they didn't think she was in the accident. They didn't want to put her in the ambulance. They were just like, where the fuck did you come from,
Really?
bitch? Yeah. And she's like, she had to call my parents and be like, don't be mad, Sabrina.
Damn.
And downplay it so much, you know? Like, oh, and then like my mom gets there and she's like, we're fucked.
And
So-
it's the first party you ever went to. So to them,
Yeah,
they're like,
pretty much.
we fucking knew it. We should have never let you out.
Well, I mean, when I was in the hospital, I just was like, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to fuck everything. I'm going to fight everything. I'm going to burn it down. I'm going to try every drug. I'm going to do every fucking last thing possible because I didn't do shit.
Yeah. And
Here
you
I
never
am.
know. Yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it's like that, you know?
Yeah. What did your sister, did she ever describe like what happened or what caused the accident if you don't have
Nobody knew, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there was an investigation, you know what I mean? Like my dad's an attorney, like we're suing everybody.
Yeah.
Like nobody could figure it out. Like I couldn't lay down for like 7 months.
Yeah.
First I slept in a recliner and then like they finally got a hospital bed in my parents' house. So then I slept in that.
So did they do like a surgical repair of your neck, or was it just one of
No,
those things
they
that's
were
like
like-
you're in traction or whatever the hell, and it'll heal back on its own?
I had the most stupidest
because you
looking
never
body brace.
you were able to move everything afterwards, right?
I had
Okay.
complete, all of my appendages worked. There are problems, but like for the most part, you would never know what had happened to me.
Yeah.
Like you could tell I was fucked because I went through a fucking windshield. But like had that not happened, you wouldn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
like I remember they were like, lay in bed, stay in bed. And I was like, I need to see what I look like. And it's like every movie where the fucking victim looks in the mirror and
Yeah.
they're like, oh no. You know, and it's like, I was 19. So I was like, I'm so fucking ugly. That mentality of what society teaches you. And it's like, oh my God, it used to be so good. And now it's shit.
Yeah.
And like, a lot of what I remember from that time is just like not understanding how much pain I was in. And like during the pandemic, I went for a walk one day and I was like, I don't know why I had this thought, but I was like, I don't think I've had a day without pain since 2001.
Yeah. it's
You know what
crazy.
I mean? Just
Yeah.
like everyday pain, everyday
life.
pain. And like, well, yeah, but try complaining. Oh, my elbow hurts. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody wants to
Right?
hear about
Yeah.
your stupid tennis elbow, you bitch. But yeah, it's stuff like that where it's just like, you know, I was so adamant, I'm fine, send me home. And like getting to my parents' house and just being able to do nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the worst. I'm like, I should have just stayed in the fucking hospital. Like, we're not equipped for this. It was like, and my mom is not a caretaker. You know, after like the age of 5, you fucking nut up, dude.
Yeah.
Like, she can't help you. Like, she's not
Yeah.
going to.
So how does this go? So how long were you in the hospital?
2 weeks.
Okay. And then you're home and need pretty much like round the clock care, right?
No, I was taking care of myself, and what I couldn't do, Gia would do. Like we were always kind of codependent, and we did everything together. But then it was like another level because it would be like, you know, we didn't have a shower
I'm going
chair.
to rebuild you.
Well, kind of like survivor's guilt's a son of a bitch, you know? It's like nothing's wrong with her.
Especially if
Everything's
she
wrong
wasn't
with
hurt
me.
at all, and
Yeah.
she was driving.
Yeah, well, she wasn't driving. She was
Oh.
just in the backseat holding the
Oh,
boombox.
gotcha.
Hers was a boombox issue.
Wait, so who was driving? You
Just-
were driving?
This some friend of mine.
Oh, a friend. Okay.
Yeah, my
okay.
parents wouldn't give me the car keys, so I couldn't drive myself. You know what I mean? I was living in like the 1800s where like my parents were like, we'll pick you a man and then someday you will be with that man.
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, none of that's going to happen.
They're
I'm
like, what
going
are we
to
gonna do
fucking
with her
hell.
now?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like an incident like that because like that area of the freeway. First of all, there's like cars get up in speed in that little area right by Getty and shit. Right, they're flying. Not so much like it seems like an uphill area of if you're heading northbound, but like situation. What time of night was this?
Daytime.
Oh, it was daytime.
Yeah, it was 1:01 around 1 in the afternoon.
Oh, no shit. It's crazy. Numerics. But yeah, that's like one of the things we look for. So like when you pull it, and were any other cars involved? Or you said you hit a few other cars.
We hit a few other cars, but nobody was fucked. You know
were
what I
the
mean?
only ones that rolled over and all that shit. Okay. Yeah, it's crazy to think about because when you pull up to an incident like that, like or just like I said earlier, like sometimes we'll be out on the radio and we'll get a traffic accident. And then they usually send a fire engine coming from the north heading southbound and one coming from the south heading northbound. Because people will call and report an accident on the freeway and they'll get discombobulated about where it's at and stuff like that. And so they'll send like a mile up the road from where it's reported, they'll send one coming down and one coming up. And then you converge and they'll send one paramedic rescue. And then when you actually like come on scene, like sometimes those incidents are like, they might be a quarter mile long, like from where the accident started to where, and so you'll have like debris and then a car that's kind of got a dent and then another car that's just stopped. It's somebody that just stopped to help, and then more debris, and then all of a sudden there'll be a car like on its hood right there, right? And it's actually a lot safer for us when things like that happen in the daytime, because people are at least awake and like more aware, and there's a lot more cars on the freeway. Like I'm sure it was probably like a shit ton of cars at that time of day. But like what's really dangerous for us is when they happen like in the middle of the night or 2-3 o'clock in the morning, because especially on something like that, like a uphill or downhill that's like into a curve, because people are flying, trying to get home. They probably have a little liquor or whatever in them, and they're doing 90 because there's nobody on the freeway, right? So a lot of times when we respond to like accidents like that, where it's like on the freeway and it's like middle of the night like that, I'll light a flare off and I'll just chuck it as far as I can down the freeway. Cause like you picture yourself like a little, driving on the freeway at night, 90 miles an hour. And all of a sudden there's a flare in the road, right? The first thing you're going to do is like, whoa, what the fuck? What the fuck is that? And slow your car down, and then you happen upon the incident or whatever. But yeah, just like you were saying, like the brain is such a fucking funky thing. Like, it can like completely change people's personalities if you're in an accident like this and you go through head trauma like that. One thing that we always like look for or experience is repetitive questioning. What happened? Oh, you were in an accident, you hit your head. Oh, okay. Is my sister okay? Yeah, she's okay. She's sitting on oh, okay. All right. But what happened though? Well, you were just in an accident and you hit your head went through the windshield. Okay, cool. And my sister, is she? And they'll just keep continuing on like that, right? And anytime we have somebody that has a head injury, like any kind of head injury, even if you have like a cut on your forehead or a scratch or something like that, and you're what we consider altered, right? You're not acting right. You're not acting at your baseline. That's when we would take you to a trauma center on an accident like that.
Yep.
But yeah, that's crazy. So you wake up in the hospital. What were your like lasting problems that you had with that? I mean, a concussion you can have all kinds of stuff. You can have like constant nausea, vomiting. I
don't have anything like that. Like what's nice is that you don't know anything's wrong with me. Like you talk to me and you're like, this lady's fucking weird. But like, you know what I mean? Like,
but you don't think accident, brain injury.
Yeah, no. I mean, like it was so important for me to be like, I'm still smart. Like that's how I self-identified. Like I was like, I went back to school and I graduated in less than 4 years. I was like, nothing will slow me down. The only thing I have is my fucking brain. I'm going to massage this motherfucker every day and keep it sharp and keep it strong. And it probably saved me. It saved me, but then I graduated from college and I was like, now it is time to start partying. Like what comes next? Everything. But yeah, like there is no like, there is like shortness of memory now where I used to be able to look at a piece of paper and just recite everything. Yeah. I can be like, I'll tell you what's on that, but not verbatim anymore. Like that's like such a bummer for me because I'm like, well, you're a dumb fuck and here I am a genius. I'm just like neurodivergent. You know what I mean? I'm like, haha, this is how we measure intelligence now. But like there's so many different kinds of intelligence, and I had to work on the other ones. Like I was not like an interpersonal person. I was just like, can you just not fucking talk to me? You know? And so much of what I do now is like talk to people and like connect with them and then be like, well, I'm done having this connection. Thank you. I would like to move on. Because I can be like, something's weird over here with this person. I can tell. And like, that's like my special interest is fucked up people. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing else.
It's like the superpower you got from this accident.
For sure, from so many different things, but especially this accident. Yeah. Because it's like people try to be like, I'm normal. And I'm like, haha, you're trying too hard to be normal, are you? Fuck, huh? Yeah. I feel that. But I'm not, I'm just like, look, that's not happening for me. I broke my neck, or I'll do a bunch of drugs and then it won't fucking matter. And it's like, really my gateway drug was pills because they were like, oh, lady, you're a lifer. Yeah. Like, like a lot of people, I was just like, crush them up, put them in champagne. Fuck it.
How did you get away from that? Or
how did I sober up?
Yeah.
I partied like in every conceivable way possible.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm like a person that could get invited to anything. I'd be like, yeah, I'm down. And I was smart. I would always come with like 5 chicks who were like varying degrees of hot, which other people would be into. Sure. So I'd be like, oh, we have one of everything. Are you into asses? You into blondes? Yeah. So I would just roll up and be like, there's no men with us because I don't give a fuck about them. And I want to party. Let me in. And things had started taking kind of a dark turn, but like, I was like, I don't want to stop yet. You know, I crashed my car drunk, like all sorts of shit. I really should have gone to jail for like 1,000 years. But like men are so afraid of women's bodies in the little center council thing or whatever. I would put so many like tampons, like when the cops opened that, but like I had so much cocaine in there, like they just opened it and shut it. Like my friend, I called my friend. I'm like, I'm so fucked. I know you live around the corner. Yeah. He knew too because he had partied with me. He's like, that cop opened that, saw the period stuff, closed that.
Nothing but tampons in there, sir.
Right? This is filled with period shit. Oh no.
It's all vagina things.
I'm not lifting that
Chief,
up.
it's all vagina things.
No thanks. And I went to jail. I was a queen of jail. I smuggled my phone in. I fucking was just like, I noticed that you guys are playing games with this little prostitute. Get fucked on that, buddy. Like, I really had done it. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I took the handcuffs off. I was a problem.
So was it just a matter of hitting a point where you're like,
yeah, there was no bottom for me. And there wasn't going to be because I'm not afraid of the darkness. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry. You slipped handcuffs?
Yeah. There's some talents that first of all,
behind?
From behind.
Dude.
That's impressive. Dude.
I was trying to get them, but you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, my neck hurts. My neck hurts. And you guys, if my neck hurts, I can supersede power and just be like, I don't give a fuck what else is happening here. And I just like made this hand so small, ripped it off. And then I put both handcuffs on this hand, like a bracelet. And when the cop came back, who was fucking done with me, because I was just like, whatever. And like, high key, my dad works with firefighters, cops, paramedics, whatever. He is a work comp attorney for plaintiffs. Okay. So by then I was just like, everybody that we need to know, my dad already knows, so I don't give a fuck, and was being like a fucking little bitch. Yeah. But also I was like, my neck hurts, take them off. At least put them in the front. Yeah. But I was so problematic. They were like, no. And I was like, well, then I'll do it myself. So it's like all these different things. They wanted to keep me in jail for like a month, but like, God bless my mom teaching us like every trick in the book. My brother was like, I'm going to take care of this. My brother shows up. He's like, I found the gayest cop. And I just was like, I'm going to sit in they took me to fucking the Twin Towers. They took me to county. And I was like the queen there. You know what I mean? I was just like, listen, you have rights. Also, at the time, I was like working at CBS, like CBS radio. I was like, you guys, I can't wait to report all this back. You know,
you're telling the inmates they have rights? Like,
I'm telling everybody. There was this young, I'll never forget. It was this young prostitute. And she was just like, I'm not a prostitute. I'm not a prostitute. And I'm like, I'm not a convicted drunk driver yet. So this is a fucking safe space, my guy. And like, they had put the handcuffs on her so tight that one of her hands was so swollen that I was like, why can't she have an ice pack? And if you're a normal person and you've never been into any kind of jail situation, there's a little button and you talking to it and the cops ignore you, but it's hard to ignore me because I'm just like, I can't wait to talk about this when I leave here eventually with my entitlement. And I made them bring her an ice pack. And so she was like, who are you? And I was like, I'm the Norma Ray of jail. And like, I remember just drinking my orange juice and her orange juice because I was so fucking hammered. And like, just being like, when this hangover hits, I am going to die. And that still wasn't enough. You know, my brother flirted me out of jail. They just they're like,
yeah, go back to that. So you said he found the gay.
Yeah, he was like, I found the gayest cop. And I was just like, I'm not leaving. I'm parked outside. I'll just sit in my car until you guys will let me bail her out or release her. And the cop just like, I was out of jail by like 9 a.m. You know what I mean? They just released me into his custody. And he was like, what did you do? And I was like, I have no fucking idea, man. You have no idea. And now he's an attorney. And when he graduated law school, he was like, dude, I can get you out of anything now. And I was like, please, I do not want to relive that. Why weren't you an attorney like fucking 10 years ago, guy?
I find the gayest guy on the jury.
Dude, hey, man.
Zero in.
You can count on me.
The Cognata way is to flirt your way in or out of whatever it is that you need, you know?
So did you go through a program or did you just fucking cold turkey it and do your own thing?
For a while that I was ready. It's like I needed a new storyline. Yeah. I wanted a new storyline, but I didn't know how do you do that? So I started this little piece of paper I kept in my wallet, and it was like people who had gotten sober and their lives got better. Famous people, normal people, whatever the fuck it was. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm like being like, has anybody called for drugs? We need drugs. I'm so fucking hammered. And I kept adding to that list, and it was like this idea that I had. And then President's Day weekend, 2016, It was like this fucking crazy rich guy that I knew had a birthday. We started partying on like Thursday night. Sunday night, I was like, oh my God, woo, we're done. And then Monday, I was supposed to have like breakfast with a friend of mine. And I just remember like that whole weekend is a blur. Monday morning, I go to breakfast with my friend and I'm like, this oatmeal tastes horrible. It's just like fucking nothing. I don't even know what it tastes like. Sand. This is the weirdest hangover I've ever had, and that's because it wasn't a hangover. I had the flu on top of like a fucking drinking binge, drinking and drug binge, and I was sick for like 2.5 weeks, and like maybe 10 days, 11 days in, I started to feel normal again. And I just remember being like, wait a second, I have 11 days, and I took out like every year my mom gives us like the fucking calendar from like my dad's Sicilian from like the Italian deli, and I remember just taking out that fucking calendar and just like circling all the like checking off all the 11 days, and then I circled like 30 days and I circled 45 days
because you didn't drink because you were sick.
Yes.
So just you wrote out starting to be sick.
Yeah. Yes.
A lot of people do that.
It's the only way. I was just like, I hadn't done it. So it was just like, I was like, all right, I'm in.
Keep
I'm
this
in
ball
it.
rolling.
Wow. Yeah.
It's the Jerry Seinfeld method. Just like, don't break the chain. And that's what I did. But it was really hard because like I was partying with comedians and nobody parties like comedians. You know what I mean?
It's a hard world to be in.
I loved it because I was in the music world before that. And I was like, musicians don't even fucking party like this, you guys. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And like it was really hard to just be around that at first because you are always in a bar or always in a club.
But then once you experience it without drinking or doing drugs, and you realize like, fuck, you know, and it wasn't worse, and I don't feel like dog shit the next day.
I mean, I'll be honest, I still smoke weed and occasionally do mushrooms, but like it's easier for me to smoke weed because I don't need it every day. Yeah. Well, I don't need it every day, and it does mitigate pain. Like when I lay down in a bed, I can feel every vertebra go. You know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, this is horrible. So it's like maybe I do get a little stoned and then I go to bed, and like if I sleep so deep that like I don't feel, if I'm feeling it, something's not right. You know?
Yeah.
So like there's that, but it's like if I could take painkillers and not abuse them right now, if you gave me an antibiotic, my brain would want to fucking open it and snort it. Okay, like that's just like where I'm at. Like I'm like, oh, can this be snorted? I would like to.
It's always interesting to me people that have had like a crazy party life and then have decided to get sober, because I kind of went down that road too. And same with you. I'm not necessarily sober. Like every once in a while I'll have a drink or smoke a little bit. But like they're like the most interesting, like down to earth, calm, understanding people that I know, people that have gone through that. And it's like without getting too much into it, without fully understanding like our life and without getting too deep and everything. It almost feels like if we're trying to perfect how to be a human being, you almost have to go through all these like trials and tribulations and negative things. And it almost seems like the deeper you go in that and like the harder your times were at their lowest, and you pull yourself out of it. For me, at least, it's always felt like nothing is ever going to be as bad as that point of my life. Nothing's ever going to be that bad. So what is this that you're hitting me with? Okay, well, that's not such a big deal. Let's fucking deal with that. Or this is how, you know what I mean? It makes like everything else in my life feel not insignificant, but just like not like anything that I can't overcome. You know what I mean? No matter like how difficult it is. Cause it's like, nothing's ever going to I'm never going to fucking be as shitty a human being as I was at that point. And I pulled myself out of that, and people still loved me and people still cared about me and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's crazy how those types of things, and you seem like a super like strong, positive personality to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like interesting to hear backstory on people like that that I meet, you know? Yeah.
Well, it's the hero's journey. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there is no light without the darkness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, you know, there wasn't enough darkness for me. Once I found after hours, I was like, you can party till noon? Fuck yeah, let's do this. Like waking up, like the guy who drove like a cab being like, I'll take you home. And me being like, oh, I'm still partying? All right. You know what I mean? Days and days of partying. But also it's like, you know, I wasn't ready to deal with anything. There was so much stuff. Like, how do you sit down with a therapist and be like, there's like a lot we have to go over. We could start with today, but like, there's so much.
Yeah.
And like, I just kept like leaning darker and darker and darker. And at some point I was just like, oh, what comes next is like too dark.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Like, but I've done so much. Like, you know, I wanted a different storyline, and like it allowed me to build one, even though it was difficult. It's not like the easiest thing in the world to be like, I'm going to change my life today, because the brain is like, today's it. But it's like, no, you can change like one tiny thing today, and then the rest of it is just like building on that.
Yeah.
Right.
And in like a psycho, I was like, well, I've been sober for like 2 months. I'm ready. I'll never forget this. I looked up into the sky and I was like, I'm ready to learn every lesson. Hardest next 2 years, harder even than fucking breaking my neck. You know what I mean? Because it was like outside stuff that I had to deal with. And like, you know, as a basically a drunk and a junkie, like, I was self-contained. I was like, I don't need your help. I don't need this. I've got it. Like, I won't make my mess your mess. Stay out of my fucking life, you know? And so like, it wasn't a problem in that way. It was only a problem that I could manage it. And that I'm just attractive enough where some guys like, I got her. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be the most beautiful person in the world. You have to be one person that one person wants to fuck, and you're set as a junkie. And like, you know, just understanding all that stuff and being like, I want to step outside of this.
Yeah.
Shit, man. That was a trip.
Right. Because especially, there's so many points of change, and like your life is one way. You have the significant event, and then you completely change. You know what I mean? Like how you act, your behavior, your appetite for everything, and then you realize like what's for you. You know, like you get there.
Well, you also have to understand you grow and you change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing worse than being the same person you were last year, last month, last week, whatever it is. And like, that's what using is. Everything stays the same because you don't want to change. And it's like a time capsule.
Yeah.
You know, I'm reliving my car accident every day, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
You definitely
Plus,
need to like make that internal decision that that's what you want to do, man. It's
and I
crazy.
don't like being in a car. I don't like driving. I don't like being a passenger. You know what I mean? Like, the pandemic was like the best because I was like, I don't drive anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, like, my dad was so mad. He's like, did you move this car in like 2 years? And I was like, no, that's why the paint's peeling off of it. I didn't get in the fucking car. We should all be excited about this now.
It's funny.
But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like understanding all these little things and like being able to just be like, okay, I've done it. Like,
yeah.
I'll never have a worse day than January 1, 2001. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a crazy trip, man.
I know, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man.
Well, thank you for coming on and sharing all that.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of times it's hard for people to do and to talk about, and so, but I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from a story like yours. You know, from being where you were to where you are now. Is there before we get going, because we're getting close to time here, is there anything you want to promote or anywhere people can find you or follow you?
Before I promote anything, if you've had something fucked up happen to you, get help. Like, just talk to a person. It doesn't have to be a therapist or a specialist. Just be like, I am struggling. And I promise you, people will listen.
Yeah.
Because it feels like you're on an island. I always felt like I was the island of misfit toys and all of the fucking misfit toys found me. But it's like, if you can find somebody else who's been through something totally fucked, like, you can make your way out. You can get the fuck off the island.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I produce a Jodie Sweetin's comedy show called Family Dinner. We're a monthly. You can find us on @FamDinShow, FamDinShow. You can find me on every social media. It's the same, @Sabrina SEE. And don't get fucked up. Try to avoid that.
Try to avoid it. That's good advice.
Life lessons.
You guys can follow me at DannyGonzo34 on Instagram.
Follow me at Ben9Humor, Ben9Humor, like benign tumor on Instagram and Twitter. Follow our show at PRC Pod on Instagram or at PRC Podcast on TikTok, or email us at contactprcpod@gmail.com.
As always, guys, if you like this episode, even if you didn't like it, just click the like button. It doesn't take that much. You're already here listening to us. Just push the button.
Yeah, what's wrong with
And share it, comment, talk to your friends about it. It helps us grow as a podcast, as always. And if you guys want to come on the podcast, or you've had an interesting story, like Ben said, contact us through email and let us know. And that's it. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks.